Hello, you beautiful people. Today I want to talk to you guys about my fantasy teams and how you can acquire some of the players that I've gotten. So I'm currently in two leagues. One is a head-to-head points with 8 people, and one is a head-to-head categories with 10 people. And I think it's 8 categories. So we'll start off with the head-to-head points league, and my team name is Team Lou Dort. If you didn't know, I'm a huge Lou Dort fan. So as you can see, my profile picture is Thanos here, and that's kind of my inspiration for what I wanted to do this year. I mean, every year that we've done a fantasy league, I always end up winning it. So I wanted to do things a little differently this time and try to acquire the Infinity Gauntlet from Avengers. So, scroll down to my team here. Now, as you can see, my team is pretty stacked, so I'm going to show you each individual player and how I acquired them. So we'll start off with my point guard, and that's Damian Lillard. So I didn't draft Damian Lillard. What I did is I actually traded for him. So I traded Devin Booker and Rashawn Holmes for Damian Lillard. Now, you might be wondering, if you look a player down here, I actually have Devin Booker back on my team. And that's because I took advantage of someone who really needed points to win a matchup a certain night. And I traded Devin Booker for De'Aaron Fox. So as you can see, I pretty much traded De'Aaron Fox and Rashawn Holmes for Damian Lillard, which is just an absolute steal. Then there's Luka Doncic, who I drafted. I had the third overall pick in our league, and I picked Luka Doncic, and I'm definitely very happy with how that's turned out. Now you might be wondering, how do I have Luka and also Giannis Antetokounmpo? So this is what having a good draft pays off as, because I had to trade a shit ton of things to get Giannis on my team. So I traded away Chris Middleton, Gordon Hayward, Larry Nance, and Mikal Bridges. And while that might seem like a lot to you guys, you have to remember, if you watched my 3 strategies on how to win your fantasy league video, you know how I talked about IR spots. So I filled up my IR with great players, so that allowed me to pick up Larry Nance and Mikal Bridges after I worked the waiver wire. So I would have had to drop them anyway, so I essentially traded Chris Middleton and Gordon Hayward for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Next up, one of the most underrated players in fantasy, and that's Nikola Vucevic of the Orlando Magic. Look at his stats here, man. He's averaging 30 points a game. I will leave our league settings in the description because I know that would look different in everyone's leagues, but just for reference, like, he's just been absolutely insane. And I drafted him 35th overall, so very content with that selection as well. Next up, Moran of the Memphis Grizzlies. So I didn't actually draft Moran. I traded him for Donovan Mitchell, and that was also another trade I made because, excuse me, a player desperately needed points in our league, and I was okay with waiting on Moran because I had a really good team behind him, so I wasn't too worried about the dip in production while he was injured. Then my worst pick of fantasy, and that's Al Horford. I mean, I do not regret anything more than drafting this guy. I picked him. Our draft numbers are a bit funky because we did it in person, but I didn't pick him 62nd overall. But for all intents and purposes, I still regret it. Then there's Kemba Walker. Ignore the out signs beside John Morant and Kemba's name. They're actually healthy again. So Kemba was, I think I picked him 78th overall, and I'm still waiting on him to come back into the lineup. But I'm not too worried about it. I mean, I know he's going to be a productive fantasy player, and it was a great pick in my opinion. So not too worried about that one. Then we move on to one of my favorite players in the league, and that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So I actually picked Shai 19th, and he has not let me down at all. He is putting up some crazy numbers. He's like the only one on the Thunder that can really win them games. And so far, the Thunder don't even have that bad of a record, as surprising as that may be. Then we move on to some players that aren't really that great. I mean, we have OG Anunoby, who I just made a video on. Kobe White, James Wiseman. I got OG and Kobe off of waivers, but I did actually draft James Wiseman. He was my last overall pick. I just thought I'd take a chance on him. And so far, he just hasn't really been getting minutes. I mean, if we show more here, he's not really putting up great fantasy numbers, but I'm just holding on to him just in the chance that his production starts going up pretty much. And then we have my IR. So there we have Michael Porter Jr., who currently has the Rona, Jaren Jackson, who's been out for a long time, and Danilo Gallinari. So what my plan eventually is once Michael Porter Jr., Jaren Jackson, and Danilo are all healthy again, I'm probably going to drop Kobe White, whoever I happen to pick up for this bench spot, and Al Horford. And that'll just be a great pickup for my team because, well, I mean, these guys are just temporary. So if you think about it, you can just ignore Kobe, Al Horford, and whoever I pick up, and they've just been upgraded into Michael Porter, Jaren Jackson, and Danilo Gallinari. So yeah, that's my head-to-head points team. I mean, it is pretty insane, I will admit. I was just trying to make the Infinity Gauntlet, like I said. So, we got Dame, Devin Booker, Luka, Giannis, Vucevic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Michael Porter Jr. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with my head-to-head points league. And yeah, let's just go ahead and move right over to my categories league. All right, so on to my categories team. So my team name in this one is Team Tsunami Poppy, of course, after my boy Kelly Oubre. So I'll go ahead and show you guys what our settings are for this league. So the categories are field goal percentage, free throw percentage, three-pointers made, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and points. And when I was making my team, the 5 categories I wanted to focus on, because you needed 5 categories to win your league, of course, because there's 8, so 5 is the majority. I picked three-pointers made, rebounds, steals, blocks, and points. And if I scroll down here, you can see that in the entirety of the league, I actually have the most three-pointers, the most rebounds, the most steals, the most blocks, and the most points. So I am clearly the best team in the league here. This league is more of casual players, which I didn't know at the time. I joined because of a buddy of mine. And yeah, it's been a pretty easy run so far. So my team isn't that great. I haven't really been making that many trades or anything, but it's really good for the categories I have. So I picked DeJounte Murray, Zach LaVine, Duncan Robinson, Chris Boucher I picked up off waivers. Same with Duncan Robinson. Everyone else I drafted. I drafted Bam, I drafted CJ, I drafted Anthony Davis, Tatum, Christian Wood, who's been unreal, by the way, Miles Turner, Andre Drummond, Larry Nance, and I picked up TJ Warren off of waivers because he's been injured. So, as you can see, those players are pretty central to what I wanted to focus on in terms of my categories. So they're all pretty good at like at least one of the categories. I mean, we got three-pointers. I have some specialists, like we have three-point shooting with Duncan Robinson. CJ McCollum's a specialist there as well. Same with Tatum, Zach LaVine. And then for blocks, I have Miles Turner, who's pretty much single-handedly been winning me that category, as well as Christian Wood, Anthony Davis, Bam. And then for rebounds, I mean, we got Andre Drummond down here, who, if you saw my video yesterday, I did recommend trading him. And I stand by that in points leagues, but in my categories league, I'm not too concerned about it just because, like I said, this is more full of casual players, and he's still going to grab enough rebounds for me to come out on top. So yeah, those are both of my fantasy teams. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll just give you one last look at both of them here. I'll go back over to my points league. And yeah, I'm really happy about the Infinity Stones. Like I said, I more just did this for fun. I had a really good team anyway, but I thought this would be more exciting for this year. And yeah, I want to thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.